So I'm going to model an F16 and I'm going to go over it really quick. This is kind of an advanced thing. I can't really show you every in and out of this. I just want you to make the flight sim game and use some cool art and show that you can be making it. So what I did is the first thing I do is I grab a blueprint. Anytime I want to build a car that's actually a real car in the real world, I get a blueprint, top down, forward, side view. These are all orthographic. And then get quite a few other images. Roughly 10 would be good. So here's one with a nice side view. It shows that this area right here is really flat, whereas this is more smooth on top. So that's a very good reference shot. It also shows me this piece, which you can see is kind of connected. Here it looks completely separate. It's not actually. It doesn't look like one full mesh. So you can see the wing and everything is kind of welded together or something. So you can just get an idea how this stuff's connected right here. Again, this fin right here, it looks kind of as if it's attached as well, just by the way it hits up right there. So I just some really quick reference images. You want top views, as many views as you can, so that you can judge your model in 3D and not have to ask the question of what it should look like. So then. I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm just showing for reference. A lot of people have trouble when they start shaping things up. I was trying to teach my friend the other day, and he was, having a lot of problems with shaping some stuff up. So anyway, this whole thing is pretty much going to be a cylinder. So this comes off like this, and then it's going to fan out to like this area right here. So this whole thing, I'll create a cylinder, and then I'm going to kind of scale it out. I'm going to delete the sides of it and then push them out to the sides, and it does the same thing over here, so it's kind of flat here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bunch of lines for my cylinder that just go all the way back to the edge of the exhaust. I'll probably make the fan a separate piece. It doesn't need to be continuous with this whole mesh here, so it can be a bunch of separate meshes kind of glued on top of each other. Yeah, so that's just the basic idea. I'm going to create a cylinder, fan it out, and then go ahead and just connect things like cockpits and the bottom and whatnot. So here we go. I'm going to speed up certain parts, and I'm going to talk over certain parts, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. First thing I did is I went to View, Properties. If you go over here, you can find View Background Images. You click down. You can go ahead and click Add New or whatever. I do all views. I loaded an image for my background, so I get this right here. So this is the top. I'm going to do view from the front, Shift A, mesh. I'm going to add cylinder. Then I'm going to view from the side. So I'm going to do view from the right. I'm going to edit this, rotate. Okay, there it is. I'm going to bring it down here, kind of judge the scale right here. I'm going to start with the back, since I can see exactly that this is the only part that is a cylinder here. That's correct. Go ahead and take that, extrude it out, scale it in a little bit, and I want these to match up perfectly here. So you can go get in the shape. This is kind of a hard view because I can't see really everything that's going on here. So what I'm going to do is something like this, scale it up, bring it over. You can see the top is pretty straight right through here, but the bottom is growing kind of downward and bigger. So I'm going to go to my blueprints here. So I can see here's the big exhaust. It looks really cylindrical all the way down, so it looks like it's coming straight, and then the bottom is just kind of growing bigger. So what I'm going to do is then I'm going to show you from this view. I'm going to do scale, and I'm going to lock it to the z-axis so it kind of grows bigger like this. I'm going to go again, view from the right, and then what I'm going to do is pull this down. So this, remember, this edge right here is going to go straight, but this one's going to be the one growing. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Actually, what I can do is I can just grab the bottom half. This might be a better approach. So I'm going to grab the bottom half to kind of elongate it. So it's still getting bigger at this point right here. I think I'm going to do it more like that. And still, it's getting bigger in the bottom. So you can see it's kind of shaping out, okay? The first thing I'm going to do actually is go ahead and set this to smooth. And for shading purposes, what's happening here is it's trying to make a flat surface smooth with a 90-degree edge, and that doesn't make sense. A table bottom does not smooth with the top. So what you would normally see is something like this. So I'm going to take that whole side and do by that, and now you'll see this is a whole flat 90-degree surface, and then this side is smooth now. And I don't even need that right now, so I'm just going to delete that so you can see that. And again, for lighting purposes, I'm going to go ahead and delete this vertex. So now I just have this nice, it's like a hollow hole. Okay, so again in my blueprint, kind of go back, kind of judge here. So again, this big cylinder coming all the way to the front up to that point. So I can see here it's a big cylinder, and then here's where it starts kind of separating into the top and bottom part. So I want to get a better view of how that does that. Okay. So now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to face select mode, and like I was telling you about before with the loops, this is where my cutout is. Here's where my bottom and top are separate. And again back here, I see that I'm going to bring this out separately from the top. I'm going to scale this into a little bit of a point here. Okay, so now I kind of have the bottom coming to a shape, and again right here you see that it's all hollow. So what I want to do is I want to wrap this nice smooth edge around here, this tiny little edge here that you can see. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that, and then you can see the top is flat. So what I want to do is I want to wrap that to a flat angle there. And you can see that happens almost all the way right here under the first fin, where it goes from smooth straight up to wrapping in. So I'm going to view from the right side, and let me see that one more time. So I want to wrap the top first. So I'm going to take part of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it straight up into the Z, and then I'm going to push it in this way just a little bit, extrude again, push it in. So now you can see I'm getting this edge here, which is going to be this area right here, this little like basking shark cutout thing. And I just want to get quite a few loops here to just make it good. So I'm going to make a couple divisions, and there we go. So then what I'm going to do is just make these faces go over. There you go. So that looks pretty cool. You can see that it's at least shaping up a little bit like an F16. So now this part at the front, I'm gonna extrude it forward. I'm gonna leave it just straight, extrude it straight once, and then I'm gonna extrude it one more time, and then that's when I'm gonna start scaling in to get the edge. And I want to scale in a couple times and make it like that, so you can see it shaping up. And I'm going to scale in again. So now I've made a scale that's flat. So you can see that this face right here is actually flat. And I'm going to go from the right. Now I'm going to scale it in and then bring it actually inward a little bit. So here I'm putting in one more loop to make the lighting look a little bit better. So there you go, you can see kind of what I did, and I'm going to go ahead here and do so you can see the lighting is really sharp on this idea that it's a cylinder, and I don't Kind of don't like that, so I'm going to pull this edge back a little to get that shape there. And I'm going to view from the right, and I'm going to adjust this real quick. Now I can see the hole where the bottom kind of wraps around. Right here, again, this kind of, you can see it curves over, but then right here it goes straight up, it looks like. And then I want to get another view of the back here real quick. Again, it all looks pretty much smooth straight up, which is what you see here. So what I'm going to do here is, just like we saw, this shape kind of comes down and it blends in. It's being stretched like a slope, and then the back is kind of still kind of in a cylinder shape. So up until the very end, it's still doing that cylinder shape deal. So I'm going to view it from the top, and up to about right here is where the cylinder shape stays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edge select these. Control E, select edge loop, Control plus. I'm going to grab the next loop up, and what I want to do is I want to get rid of these edges because they're still fine, but these other ones I want to go and I want to scale them outward here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do Control minus, grab these again. I want to scale those outward. And now how far do I want to do that? If I view from the top, I can see how far those go out. So it comes down and then curves out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this so I can get a view from the front here. And I'm going to put this right up here to kind of judge my shape. And you can see it's pretty close, actually. So I need to take this and kind of stretch it down and over a little bit more. So view from the front. So this should come out a little bit more. So now I'm going to work on the nose and the cockpit, because once we have those, once we throw in the wings and we have the cockpit and that, it's pretty much going to look like an F-16. So I am going to go, again, to look at this. You see this nice cylinder shape on the top. This nice bottom view shows us, though, that this whole bottom is just, it's flat. And you'll see in every single airplane, it's one of the things that I always screwed up, is I thought all airplanes were cylindrical. But on the bottom, they're always flat. Like you can see how this top curves really nice, and all of a sudden it's just like it's flat. So notice that when you look up any F-18, F-16s, MiGs, whatever, they all are like that. So what I'm doing here is I want to finish out the front. I'm not sure how I want to connect this piece to the front yet. First of all, I can see that this part is very vertical, and right now I have it really, I gotta smash it in to make this a lot more vertical, and then make it back to a cylinder. So what I'm gonna do is view from the right. I'm gonna take one of my cylinders that I know it has the same amount of segments, so I'll eventually be able to, go ahead and connect these edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that to the bottom, so that now I have that. And oh, that's not what I wanted. What I wanted is the cylinder part. I wanted to take these parts because it's merging back to a cylinder at the front. So now I have the front. Scale it in. I'm going to connect these two rings here. So now you have that. View from the right, take this, extrude, and again you can see the bottom is just pure flat. So actually what I want to do is first I'm going to do this. Oh wow, that came out terrible. I want to grab all these. I'm going to do remove doubles because it looks like there's some problems here. remove doubles, cool. Control N to calculate normals, and then E for extrude. Then I'm going to set that back to smooth. There you go. The normals are still screwed up down there, so I'm going to do Control N. Calculate normals. What are you doing? Select all of those, and then I'm going to do recalculate normals. There you go. Now it's smooth. And again, what did I say? If you look at the F16, it comes down really cylinder, and then the bottom is flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of the bottom and flatten it. So I'm going to do view from right. I'm going to take, let's see, think about, no, I'll go one more up there. I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to take these, scale, and then I'm going to scale them down and crunch them like that. And then we're going to go ahead and move this back to how it was and see what this looks like for us. Actually, I'll start it over here. There you go. You can see that. You can see that it kind of looks a little bit wrong. So I want it to be a little bit more smoother and then coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and take these ones and drag them up a little bit. Gives it a little bit more smoothness that you can see. If you look here again, you can see it comes down and then all of a sudden it flattens out. Something like this. Just right now I have it going kind of weird. Alright, there we go. So now I'm back at my view from the top, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that my front part that I just did is the correct size, and you see that it is actually in fact not the correct size. Now here is where I have a really big mess, and what I want to do is I want to fold a lot of this stuff over, so you can see it's all coming flat off for the top of the airplane, and then that's fine up until this point right here, and then everything else is still smoothed onto the bottom here. So the top, you can see it comes to the front, and then it's going to scale all inward into a round shape. That's what I'm doing right here. Is I'm going to scale these. I want to take all these and start rounding them off. So if I actually go to the view from the top again, I'm going to come up here. And what I'm going to see is that my cockpit, which is right there, it needs to start scaling inward right through here. So all these points that you can see are coming on the edge right here. And then all of a sudden this is on the edge, this is on the edge, and then these two are off the edge. So I need to scale these points in a little bit. So now I'm just stretching this part in. I want to smooth it off to a cylinder because I want to make the cockpit. So I'm kind of molding it as if it's clay or something and trying to get this shape really good. It's starting to come together as an F16. You can see it. So I'm just going to continue working on it. So now here what I'm doing is I'm stretching out the sides to get this this tiny little edge here, and you can see it's just really small and it comes up and then brushes straight up, whereas this kind of stretches over time where it's like a nice sloped hill. This comes straight down and then slopes out right there like an angle. So what I'm doing is I'm making each of those sections here, and I'm going to extrude each one and make a new face. and then I stretch it so that it aligns with this so that I can make another face out of it. And I'm scaling them in to make them smaller because it's going to be a really really sharp edge. So when you view from the top, you see that this is the area right here, and we can see through here that this ends right actually at the front of the cockpit. So I'm going to need to go ahead and move this same idea all the way up to the cockpit here. So now you can see my shape has kind of lost itself. I want to go ahead and take these, scale them in, get my cylinder shape back. So there you go. You can see now F16 shaping up pretty good looking. There's a couple of lighting issues I can see, but who cares for now? Let's just shape it out first. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of leave this alone for now to get the rest of my shape going and see how it turns out. So I'm going to view from the top, and I'm going to put in these wings real quick. So we can create these these fins right here completely separate actually from the whole model, in my opinion. So again, you got to critique your own work and kind of see, well, yeah, this is cool, but I don't want to say it's awesome or anything. I want to go and see kind of, because I mean, I can tell it doesn't look perfect, but I mean, that's fine, especially for the DVD, but I want you to kind of see. So the problem I'm having is really this cockpit, right? If you look at it, you can see where this thing is all fat and nice and spread out. Then all of a sudden you see the cockpit from the back, and it's just super fat. And here you can see like you got this fat end here, and then it scales into this tiny point, and all this stuff is really scaled in, really small in cylinder. And that's what you can see is the nose is like nice and skinny, and then all of a sudden as soon as you hit the cockpit, it's really fat. So this whole cockpit needs to be completely scaled in to a correct size. I do want to note one other thing though. I mean, it does, again, it has a really good shape to it. It's not horrible. It's pretty good. If you look at this group of F-16s flying here, I mean, it certainly looks like it fits in as an F-16 right there. I mean, you get the basic shape, you pretty much have an F-16. It's a matter of getting this little I mean, really, the only thing I'm not happy with how this looks is this cockpit here. So that's why I'm going to go and clean it up. So I'm just judging it up here, and again, if you look through the front, I mean, here's what it looks like from the front, right? You can see how fat my cockpit is. It's just totally the wrong shape. So the shape's a little bit better. It's still not great. So I'm just going to scale it in just a tad bit more, and then we'll finish up the wings and pretty much be done with this. And actually, the one thing I want to do is my plane is you might, well, you probably didn't notice, but when I was scaling all this stuff in, one side's a little bit different than the other. It's not 100% symmetrical. So I'm going to take half my airplane and actually just completely delete it. View from top, duplicate, mesh, mirror, Y local. Didn't work that time. Mirror on the X local. So you go, I've removed the doubles. It's now symmetrical on all sides. So now I'm on to the part where I want to actually unwrap this model over here to a texture. So I have to calculate how this thing is going to be texture mapped. So first thing I'm going to do the simpler things quick first. So I'm going to hide everything and then go ahead and grab something like this. I'm going to mark a seam down here. Actually, the first thing I can do is I can do the bottom of the wings. I made those all separate. So those are just going to be flat, and I'm going to flat project them from the top here. There we go. I have the whole bottom side right there. And you can go ahead and project from view those, and then you have that. And so I'm not going to use this image, but you can kind of see how it maps. This isn't really the right image to use, but anyway, I'm just going to kind of get a rough draft. It's a completely strange thing to do, but you can kind of see like it's going to come together. It looks actually pretty decent of an unwrap at this point. What I did is, so I marked seams where there's parts where I can, the seams are where I can rip it apart. So I'm thinking of doing the whole top and then the whole bottom. So what I did is I did this seam across the whole bottom edge here all the way around, so that this part and the top could be separate, and that's why you have this piece right here is all kind of the top. And I'm going to reselect these bottom parts and move them out of the way here. Put them up top. So then what I do is I go into GIMP, and if you don't already have one, you go to Render, Pattern, Checkerboard. I'll show you this. Go ahead. Ooh, that's way too small. I don't want it to be that big. So I can go here and I can change the size to 20 maybe? Yeah, we'll go to 30. So I got this checkerboard image, and I'll save that. Checkerboard.jpg. And with that, what you saw with I just unwrapped, I can go ahead and load the actual checkerboard, and this is going to show me how this is going to map on this image here. So the first thing I want to do is, you can see right on this part here, this is the front of the airplane right here, and it's all unwrapped to a pinpoint, and I'm going to actually make that how it shows in the actual image itself of the F16. So you got this peak cone edge that's gray, and since that's a completely different color, I don't even care. I'm going to actually just make that a completely different color. So I'm going to create another seam here where I can let it unwrap itself. So the last thing I needed to do then was put a seam here in the bottom, so that I needed to make a cut there so I could pull this end and this end out. Again, that's why all these seams are here on sides, because you need to actually take a scissor and then cut it out and unfold as if you're skinning an animal. That's why they call it skinning. So that gives me this mesh right here, and I can go ahead and apply my checkerboard on the texture mode. And there you go. You see the texture is applied really awesome. Nice and straight. Straight on the bottom as well. This looks actually really good. So that's it. The whole thing's unwrapped, and I know that because I don't have any things that map to the bounds anymore, which means that it's something that I haven't actually unwrapped or projected or whatever. And that's it. So here what I'm doing then is, like I said, I want to take the F16 as a whole and put everything together. So I'm actually going to now take all these inseparated parts and start putting them together one by one. So I'll start with the fin here. So I'm going to take the top part and move it way over here. I'm going to take this one and look at that, and I see that's right there. That's fine. So now I can join these together. Now they're one mesh. And now I can kind of decide how I want to place these. Okay. Then I go to the next mesh. I make sure it's not overlapping those other ones when I join, so I put it way off here. Then when I control join it, I can go ahead and figure out where I want to put these. So what I want to do with this now is I'm going to take all these and bring these way up here, and then this one's already pretty closely unwrapped here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack this one up together first and then go in and fix the other ones. And now with the two wings, since they're not the same continuous mesh, I can actually use the same space for these, and I can go like this. I can go UV's mirror y-axis, and then boom, I just overlay them. So I'm finding ways to pack it as I currently have it unwrapped because I know it's to scale. You can already see over here everything is in the right resolution. They map to the correct number of pixels. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to fit these all in as best I can without scaling them down to fit inside this one image. And there it is. So it's now completely fully all done and unwrapped. Looks good. And then when I select everything, you can see here is my entire mesh layout here. And that's it. We're going to go from there and paint this guy up, make him look cool.